Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Reality Bytes. Today we have a very special guest and a very special co-host. The guest we have today is Mr. Pradeep Bhandari. He's the co-founder of Junkie Baat, a psephologist, a journalist with the soul of a model. The co-host we have today is Rahul Roushan. He's the CEO of OpIndia, my boss and my lifelong tormentor. So welcome Rahul and welcome Pradeep. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
I'm actually very, very scared sitting here.
You're
For
scared.
what?
Yeah, because Rahul is here.
And what will I do?
You can do anything.
No.
I've got a lot of messages on my WhatsApp that, okay, are you doing a podcast with Nupur? That's fine. But I said, Rahul Roushan is also coming. Bola, beware.
Really?
Absolutely.
I take offense to that actually. Why am I okay and Rahul is the scary one?
Rahul knows the answer.
No, I don't know the answer, but people should know. I mean, she introduced you as somebody who is having a soul of a model, and it's true that I think you also appreciate that you look good or you feel that you look good. Facts, obviously, I mean, this is a very subjective matter. And I remember that our first article when we had profiled him, I think way back, 6-7 years back.
2019.
Yeah. And he was so particular about the featured image in which he was really looking, somebody who is out there to model. So before you ask the first question, was it ever in your plan of scheme of things to become a model?
Not at all. I have done my on a serious note.
On a serious note, really?
No, I'm telling.
Seriously answer that question.
I will because I'll just answer that. I officially have also, been with the NSD.
Okay.
So we've been taught to get maximum viewership in eyeballs.
You have studied at NSD.
I've done a scholarship there.
You got a scholarship.
Yeah,
what did you do?
I was a street play artist, so I used to act.
Halla bol.
Halla bol is without a thapli.
Without a thapli,
Thapli,
that thing.
yeah.
And then you became a journalist.
No, I always I was always a psephologist in the start and a journalist. It's just that I'm good looking, and that happened after I met you 8 years back. If you remember when we met 8 years back.
So you became good looking after meeting me?
No. I was very, very conscious of my look after meeting you because I thought, yeah, you are such a wise man. Okay, you are such an intellectual man, and you are a man who has so much control. But you're not a man who's watched a lot on screen. So I appreciate a lot of your qualities. But one thing I said, yeah, this guy, after meeting Rahul, I should ensure कि किसी भी तरीके से fit हमेशा आदमी को रहना चाहिए. So that's how.
Because I was so unfit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
You should be the brand ambassador of Unfit Bharat.
Yeah, there are samosas over there, and
you will also have.
My entire mind space would be there while this interview is going on.
You can start a 6-pack challenge. You can start a 1-pack challenge.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. So before viewers start leaving, you can, maybe start with the serious question.
Right. So let's start with 2024 elections because I think that's what everybody wants to know. So let's get rid of the elephant in the room.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
You're the baby elephant. We'll get rid of the big elephant. So you've been traveling across the length and breadth of India. You've spoken to so many voters. What is your perception of 2024 Lok Sabha elections and what are your numbers?
Nupur, if I answer it directly, that 2024 people of India, according to my analysis, have already made up their mind. They want to see Narendra Modi ji back as the Prime Minister for the third time. And there's simple three logics. There are three broad undercurrents to it. A is that when you speak to bottom of the pyramid across the length and the breadth of the country, he has enhanced the life of the poor. And that is reached through his schemes, and whether it is water, whether it is Shauchalaya, whether it is ensuring that the road has reached the village. So people consider that he's completely transformed the life of the bottom, those who are at the bottom of the pyramid. Number two is that there is a huge aspirational quotient where people feel that the India's global pride and prestige has gone at a different proportion altogether, and that pride of being Indian, being Bharatiya is there. That is what you speak when you interact with a majority of the youth. And number three is there is a huge civilizational renaissance which is taking place, and people believe that the Sanatan culture and our Sanatan Dharma no other prime minister had consciously, endorsed it and felt proud about it. And particularly the, construction of the Bhavya Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. I will give you a simple example. At when I was in my gym, so we were doing the cycling class, which I tweeted also. The trainer towards the end, started a track of Ram, Jai Ram, Siya Ram, and it was a quote unquote all woke crowd which is there. So this whole sentiment of being proud as a Sanatani is also there. When you couple these three factors and with ability to get more than 60% women vote and 55% men vote and more than 45% youth vote, there is no doubt that he will come back as the prime minister. The numbers, because it depends on certain other parameters, a genuine psephologically analysis should be there around end of February, because that is when people, you will know कि कौन सी सीट किधर जा रही है, क्या हो सकता है, because those will decide कि क्या quantity हो
But do
सकती
you
है.
think he'll manage to get 2014 numbers or maybe 2019 numbers?
I will not
Broadly.
be I will not be surprised if he can also cross 2019 numbers.
Okay.
But he will definitely come back with majority, because a strong leader, and that is also a logic, that a strong leader either wins convincingly or loses convincingly. There is no halfway, and India never gives a half-hearted verdict. Whether it is, you look at any state election, wherever there is a leader, whether it is whether it is Bengal, Delhi, even in an opposition state, UP, any state or any national election, people always give decisive verdicts. With Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the social base has only increased. So what I can tell you for sure, I can't tell you the numbers right now because it will be guesswork, but the vote share of BJP in 2020-24 can definitely surpass the vote share that the BJP had in 2019. In 2014, the BJP got 90% of the seats from only 60% of the geography. Then the social base increased further, and the geographical base increased further. That's why the vote share increased from 31% to 37%. Now the vote share is even more than what it was before. So Telangana, the BJP is stronger than what it was in 2019. Tamil Nadu, they're trying to emerge. So more people will vote. How many seats it converts, that's a separate issue. Even in Odisha, they are significantly strong in terms of a Lok Sabha election. Bengal, they're not wiped out. They are the number 2 party, can be a number 1 party in the Lok Sabha. So I don't see any social base which is contracting of the BJP vis-a-vis the Lok Sabha. And when I speak about Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there are no confusing signals that a voter gives. Even an anti-voter says, "Yaar, aayega to Modi hi." So this is where I completely am confident as of right now that he is coming back with absolute majority and with a higher vote share as of right now. And also remember, with strong leaders, it's not the opposition that it can defeat that. Only Narendra Modi can defeat Narendra Modi. But at this moment, he's not making any mistakes at all. And he has enough feedback loops on the ground. So to put it in short, he will get a bigger vote share than what he got in 2014 and 19.
So I'm going to play not the devil's advocate, but
that was the name of a show, by the way.
But there are certain questions. When you say that only Narendra Modi can defeat Narendra Modi, there's a, I won't say popular sentiment, you tell me if it's a popular sentiment, but there is an undercurrent sentiment that perhaps the Prime Minister or the party in the center hasn't done as much as it should have as far as core Hindu issues are concerned. Not necessarily delivering on certain issues like the Ram Mandir, etc., but on certain core issues. So, do you think there is a popular base on the ground that will vote on the basis of his deliverance on Hindu core issues?
See, I can tell you from the ground, and that is a hard fact, and I'll give you a simple anecdote. मैं अभी अयोध्या के अंदर था, so when I was there, काशी तमिल संगमम के एक बस आई थी और तमिलनाडु से जो लोग हैं वो भव्य राम मंदिर के दर्शन करने आ रहे थे. मेरे को लगा कि यार तमिलनाडु में कहा जाता है कि इट्स वहाँ पे सनातन धर्म आगे नहीं बढ़ा है, इट्स बीजेपी कैन नेवर कम इनटू पावर. जब मैंने वहाँ पे बात करी, द गाइड आई आस्क्ड हिम इन इंग्लिश, आई सेड यू ट्रैवलिंग टू यू अबाउट टू डू दर्शन ऑफ Prabhu Sri Ram, Bhavya Ram Mandir. You mean, what do you think? He said, I'm getting goosebumps. And then I asked, okay, I thought it is a simple, normal sentiment. Then I asked the other guy, he said, I want to thank the Prime Minister for making this possible for me. So what I'm trying to tell you is that on the ground, the acknowledgement is there in the common people that had Narendra Modi not been the Prime Minister, the Bhavya Ram Mandir would not have been constructed, even though after the Supreme Court verdict. That much consciousness is there. and that much acknowledgement is there by everyone on the ground.
I don't, when you talk about the core issues and all that, you are talking from a very, you know, a set which, with all due respect, is limited. I really believe is limited in the online domain and in a domain in a set of people who can actually afford to discuss and deep dive into these issues. If you go, I mean, obviously Pradeep has been on ground. I am only on ground when I'm driving, so he can correct
But
me if I'm
nowadays you
wrong.
also do not drive, you have a driver.
No, I don't have. So when you go among common people and if you talk about core issues, so for them in the popular narrative, the core issues will always be this Uniform Civil Code, Ram Mandir, and the 370. So in that sense, if you ask people about core issues, all three are kind of taken care of. 370 is gone, Ram Mandir is being taken care of. I mean, it's being built, and third was Uniform Civil Code, which is like in bits and patches, it's happening. Like in Goa had his own Uniform Civil Code. I think Uttarakhand is supposed to be coming, right, and on a national level that ball has already been set rolling. So now in that domain, in the online intellectual or whatever, however you put it, core issues mean something else. So there you can keep on debating whether Modi has done this or hasn't, whether he has done enough or not enough. That you can keep on debating. But for the common populace, I believe for them core issues are taken care of, and I really don't believe that this kind of.
So I'll ask you a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you think
Ask whom, me or him?
Both of you. These three core issues that you mentioned, Ram Mandir, UCC and
370.
370.
Yeah.
370 and Ram Mandir, I of course understand. Ram Mandir is an issue that has spanned over decades and
Centuries
across,
actually.
Sorry?
Centuries
No,
actually.
politically,
Yeah.
I'm saying, for decades. And it has transcended social strata, financial strata in the society. But the reason why there are other issues which have not come to prominence is also because the party itself is perhaps not talking about it.
Why will they?
How much people who are screaming about it, who you call the quote unquote intellectual class, the intellectual class can't build a mass base or a mass movement, for example, for an issue. That is something that the political party is supposed to do.
No,
and
they are not.
If not the
Yeah.
political party, then at least the Sangh is supposed to do, because the Sangh is supposed to be the cultural, societal sort of organization. So why do you think even Sangh hasn't picked up certain issues? Like, if you talk about the Waqf, it hasn't been touched. If you talk about even politically, when Praveen Netaru was murdered and how that issue was handled, there was a lot of ire against the BJP by its own cadre in Karnataka, which is said that it led to them losing, a little bit of steam in ground in Karnataka as well. So what do you think makes BJP essentially be a little
I
silent
get
on
that.
certain
So
issues like that?
yeah, before Pradeep comes in, I mean, on the Praveen Netaru issue, obviously it was BJP Karyakartas themselves who started, putting pressure on the party. So that obviously party will listen to. The other thing, why will a political party listen to? I absolutely don't understand, and that would be a very silly expectation from a political party to do something that you believe is good enough for the wider society. And when you talk about the Hindu society, obviously then you go into the rabbit hole, how you define the Hindu society, how you define Hinduism and all that thing. Now, a political party, I really don't think that they will try to engineer something for the wider benefit of people. Just thinking about that, that is done by ideologues. Political parties are not exactly ideologues. They have to win election, and unless you have to win, unless you are in power, you can't do anything anyway. So unless voters start feeling the need of it, a political party will not touch. And see, our lives are very different. I mean, especially when I talk about our, in the sense you and me, then, we are doing these things 24/7. We are into this 24/7. You think from the point of view of a common voter who has seen COVID times, who has, who might have undergone job losses, economic losses, or a rural person. There is no, I don't think these issues really resonate with, those people. वो कहते हैं ना, भूखे पेट भजन न होए गोपाला. So the first thing is that, I mean, for a political party, I don't see a reason why, then your subsequent question is, why won't Sangh do it? That's a different thing. We anyway, a psephologist is not supposed to answer about Sangh, and I will not answer about Sangh. So, but politically,
No, why won't you answer about something?
I mean, I have already written Sanghi who never went to a शाखा, जबरदस्ती संगी बना हुआ हूँ, और कितना मैं उनके बिहाफ पे कुछ बोलूँ या वो करूँ. But for a political party, it doesn't make sense, that what we expect them to do, yes, they should be doing, but then, which is where, actually, instead of Pradeep supplementing what I have said, I would, in fact, want to ask you that in 2014, there was an aspirational vote bank, a lot of it. And that's what I was telling you also, from that you think of the kind of people who voted for Modi in 2014. Or I would rather ask you that what were your top things, top of the mind, reasons why you voted or you supported Modi in 2014. I would rather say hardly any core issue that
None.
currently, precisely, yeah.
Except Ram Mandir.
Yeah.
Except Ram Mandir and internal security.
Exactly.
I think
So
internal security also becomes
your point of view has changed because you have led a very set life, which won't be matching to most of the people. We have lived in a very different domain in that sense. So, but that aspirational vote, I think a lot of it was an aspirational vote. Obviously, a lot of it was civilizational and all those things. But where do you think, Pradeep, what is there still an aspirational vote? Like when I talk about that, say in 2014, people were like, we really, India needs to do much more. We can achieve far more, and like where it's economic policies or whatever. So that aspirational vote was there. When you talked about 2019, I didn't really hear about that aspirational vote. So is that kind of aspirational vote no longer exist, or the aspirations have been met, or what exactly?
So I define 2014 election as an election of hope. 2019 election is an election of delivery. That's what it was. So it was delivery that, 2014, very few people nationally knew what Modi could do. It was an anti-incumbency vote, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi catalyzed that complete emotion based on what he had worked in Gujarat, right? From 14 to 19, people saw his work. Please understand, ultimately, for a person on the ground, ideological issues and other issues only come to a point when basic needs are taken care of. जो नेता सुख और दुख में गरीब के साथ में खड़ा होता है वो सबसे important चीज होती है. So if I ask you, more than 55 to 60% people will see here, okay, fine, he's delivered for me my tap water, he's delivered for me I used to first cook food in a chula, now I've got a cylinder, a road is being built, ease has happened. During COVID time, I received ration, 80 crore people received ration. So means when I wanted help, the person stood with me. That is the real job of the government.
Sorry to butt in. I mean, aspirations of poor definitely have been taken care of.
Now I come to the other part.
Yeah, the middle class, the youth.
See, I think let's understand, middle class per se has never been a quote-unquote vote bank in this country.
That's true.
On the youth part, the global pitch which has happened, right? Whenever I speak to a youngster, they see as India's global pride. When you see your prime minister speaking head to head with, say, a United States of America or say a UK, so his positioning globally, nobody has seen this positioning of India in the past. They will always compare it to a Manmohan or in the past era. That is where the aspirational person is taken care. Now, on the core part, my question to you is that if you suppose are even, say, for example, disgruntled, you will not go ahead and vote a Congress which is backed by a left ecosystem. Ultimately, it's a fight of the forces on the core issues. So even if you have issues, that's where if you see on state level, when these other issues dominate, like in Madhya Pradesh 2018, the chief minister at that time, Shivraj Chauhan, had made a statement that koi Maikala reservation nahi hata sakta, right? So that became a very touchy statement, and the people who were traditional voters of the BJP ended up voting Nota. They did not vote the Congress. They ended up voting Nota. And the BJP got a more vote share, but 8 seats less than the Congress party. So those are specific cases. Also on the ideological front, Nupur, the people only have hope that this is an ideological outfit, whereas they will not have a hope with the Congress or the other outfit, right? So this is where you need to understand, even suppose if you think that, okay, out of 5, 3 ideological issues are met, the 2 other are not met. The 2 other will not lead to a situation of a cross vote which is taking place. And for the common person on the ground, for the first time it is happening that he can proudly say Jai Shri Ram, he can proudly say I'm a Hindu, and he is not being victimized by the government or villainized by the government. This is a very big thing on the ground. So for us to talk about this, like even when we did a survey in the core ideological voters of the BJP, they said that today we can roam around in the street without any fear, we can pray at our temple, we can say Jai Shri Ram, we can recite our, and if there is something, if there is a communal violence which is taking place against us, we know at least our case will be heard in the police station. Compare that to what happened in Karnataka, where a 30-year-old case was opened against the Rambaks in Karnataka. So there is always a parallel and a difference between extremes which is there. So even in the core voters, 60% will say, okay, fine, at least these people will listen to us. They have the hope to deliver. This is something which is, so with Narendra Modi, the thing which is there, which I see in the core voters, non-core voters, people have this faith and hope that this man will deliver and his intent is completely correct. So that is what they've seen.
Is it faith in Prime Minister Modi, or is it lack of any other option?
The first is the faith in Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the number 2 is that even if there is disgruntlement, there is no other option on the same quote-unquote pro-Hindu ideological lines. So ultimately, for an ideological voter, we are only talking about an ideological voter here, the choice is between a pro-Hindu outfit and an anti-Hindu outfit, right?
And how do you exactly define an ideological voter?
Correct.
But that's what I'm trying to.
So somebody
that's what I'm trying to ask.
So
what is the ground impact of an ideological voter,
less,
quote-unquote?
See, if you, I'll give you again a data to back it. The BJP got in 2009 roughly 7 crore 80 lakh votes. This increased in 2014 to roughly more than 14-15 crore votes. And this further increased in 2019 to 22 crore votes. Whereas the Congress in 2009, 14 and 19 got roughly between 10 to 11 crore votes. So that was the core vote of the Congress. Even these assembly elections, you see the Congress was at a base vote of 40%. BJP's base vote was 2009, which was 7 crore 80 lakh, correct? What is this new shift? This new shift is not the quote-unquote ideological voter. That was already there. This new shift has been this floating voter, this voter who is attached with the, post 2014, who is not quote-unquote going to the BJP, believing in the BJP, did not have a, Bharatiya Janata Party family which is there. They believed in Narendra Modi. So Narendra Modi on his name has added more than 15 crore votes to the base vote of the BJP.
Okay.
So if the base vote is 7 crore 80 lakh, 15 crore is Narendra Modi vote. And leader is absolutely more important. Leader is something which drives, and that has always been the scenario. If you remove the leader, the parties will always be at the base vote. So if you see Congress does not have a leadership, it is there at the base vote, which is in Madhya Pradesh roughly 40%, like last time. Chhattisgarh also base vote. In Rajasthan also base vote. You know the difference between Rajasthan and in Rajasthan elections, the difference between the vote of the BJP and the Congress is not less than, not even 15 lakhs. And in Chhattisgarh, it is not even 10 lakhs. So this quantity of vote is always this new vote which is not ideological, which comes based on leader or policies. This is what we need to understand. If the ideological base goes, then the party goes less than 100.
So, since we were talking about how core issues are not exactly electoral issues among the people.
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
Unless it's something as big as a Ram Mandir.
And what you understand as core is very different from BJP's core issues.
Or people's, or a common Hindu on the ground.
Right.
Let's acknowledge that BJP is a political party. They're not
Obviously
an NGO.
they are.
But also with an
NGO who are only going to think about civilizational issues.
See, they can only solve civilizational issues when they come into power. If you see,
and if it benefits them electorally,
see,
which is the nature of every political party.
Left and BJP are the only two ideological parties today. Ram Mandir was being spoken about for more than 40-50 years in the polity of the country. Why? How could they implement it after the majority government came into power? So coming into power of an ideological outfit which is pro-Hindu, which believes in the Sanatan cause, is extremely very important. And when you amalgate governance and welfareism with it, that is what the three mission comes. So I would say that they have performed on the core issues. What is core issues for certain people, say, or for people in the media or in the online, may not be a core issue for a common person on the ground or common Hindu on the ground.
Right. So now my question to you, do you think then that it is the failing of the Hindu Samaj and the Hindu organizations on a whole to snowball our issues and make it so mainstream that it becomes an electoral issue? Because again, I believe that a political party is going to pick it up only if it believes that a large mass of the electorate is interested in that issue. Otherwise, why would they touch it? So, do you think it's a failing of the Hindu Samaj?
Obviously, I mean, but again, as I said earlier, it goes into that rabbit hole of what is Hindu Samaj. How do you define, Hinduism? Because obviously there are people who would say, leave out Arya Samajas out of the definition, for example. So then you are getting into all those theological arena. So on
Let
a
us say non-Abrahamics for ease of conversation.
Yeah,
Because
then
an issue like Waqf
hmm.
and its
It
overarching
doesn't.
powers,
Yeah, you see
it is
this.
a non-Abrahamic issue.
Yeah,
For
but
example,
how?
freeing the temples from government control. It's a non-Abrahamic issue. Where
But
all
everyone doesn't see an eye to eye on that issue, na? When you talk about the Hindu society, why should Hindu temples be freed? Will not be obvious to everyone.
So I'll just come on this. See, I somehow disagree to this whole thing that Hindu Samaj has failed, and I'll give you an example. If you go on the ground in Chhattisgarh, recent election, the whole movement was that how Adivasis were not part of the Hindus, right? If this time you see in elections, the BJP got the majority vote from the Adivasi community, which it did not get in 2008 and 13 when it was in power. So the Sangh and the other institutions, along with the Prime Minister's schemes, along with the other issues, were going on consistently for years. And then when other factors came into picture, it was a tipping point. You could see an impact. So any issue, for it to become a larger electoral issue, it has to cross a tipping point or an inflection point. So say for example of Waqf, right? At this moment, it is not an existential threat that people or in the Hindus feel. And even the people in the government right now have other priorities at hand. So say for example, tomorrow, when this is being discussed and debated, or say UCC, it is something, every issue has a time, is what I believe. And there are multiple factors which have to come into being for it to happen. So whether these ideological issues, I believe maybe the priority right now may not be that, right? So say if I was talking in 2014 to 19, somebody will say 15 में मंदिर तो हुआ नहीं. If these people used to say मंदिर कब बनाएंगे, तारीख कब होंगी, बताएंगे. उसके बाद फिर 370 का क्या हुआ? 370 also happened after coming back into power in 2019. So what I have seen polity from close distance is that you need multiple things to factor in. At times you have to keep certain things on the back step, certain things you have to keep on the front step, and the way you behave as an opposition will be different as way you behave as a proponent. That is how we have to look at it. And so it all is when the time comes, and is it enough for it to be the tipping point? That is where I say. And again, for the Hindu society also, for it to become a movement, right? It again has to be multitude of factors. At this moment, there is a sense of satisfaction in the community that, for example, the Mandir, it is something which is a predominating emotion, and people can't, like a generation has seen it being impossible. So they can't even believe that it is happening.
several generations.
I'll give you two examples. I mean, one has actual electoral impact, another has got nothing. So the Sabrimala issue, for example, right? I mean, initially both BJP as well as Sangh were out of the, ठीक है, it's about women's right and all. But since the local people stayed their ground, they also changed because they have to cater to the popular belief. And say even in the Adi Purush, for example, initially many people from like Sangh and all, they thought कि ठीक है यार, इतना थोड़ा creative freedom लेने दो. But once people no, this is not something that we are going to accept, then obviously they can't say कि नहीं, you guys are all bad, you need to be reformed, क्यों इतना touchy होना and all that. So so those are the issues when Hindu Samaj, without going into the theological debate and all that, they could change how, say, a Sangh. I mean, obviously it's Adi Purush doesn't have to do anything with election and all that. So how did that happen? Did any intellectual really do it? I mean, something, you never know, sometimes something might stick with people and it becomes a mass movement.
Essentially, you're saying it has to gain that mass momentum.
And it has, people have to understand, if you make your थिंग्स सो कॉम्प्लेक्स कि लोगों को समझ ही में नहीं आ रहा. सर ट्विटर पे 5 साल 6 साल 10 साल बिताने के बाद भी लोग को ट्रेड और रायता समझ में नहीं आ रहा. तो हाउ डू यू एक्सपेक्ट पीपल.
एक और मैं इसमें ऐड करूंगा, जैसे से फॉर एग्जांपल द इलेक्टोरल पार्ट ऑफ इट ऑन से केरला. नाउ केरला इश्यूज ग्राउंड पे हैं, बट टिल द टाइम द क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी एंड द मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी वोट वन वे, you will still see that they are voting as a block. So even you might have a significant vote share base, it will not convert into seats. So that is where the maths come into picture. So if you see this time the appeal of, say, addressing so many women in Kerala, the beneficiaries in Kerala, and there is a slowly and conscious call even in the Christian community that they might, in years to come, it might even shift. So if you remember when Prime Minister Modi won Himachal, he said, I want to see one time a government in Kerala also coming into picture. Whether it happens today, 10 years down the line, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, for the elections at the end of the day, it is ultimately maths which has to add up. So the chemistry has to be enough for the maths to add up. So any issue, like any issue, say it addresses 10, for let's say the farmer protest, right? Or it got so many people on the streets, correct? But if I look at it per se, did it have a huge electoral impact? Absolutely not. Even people say Punjab, no, BJP was not an outfit in Punjab to contest per se. It was a Congress versus AAP fight. So for an issue or to get people on the streets or to get a sentimental issue and to win an election are completely different. At times it might translate into an electoral victory. At times it may not. Like pre-2014, a huge corruption sentiment was there against the government. That is where a complete issue snowballed into a first majority government post Rajiv Gandhi. This is what I can say. So there is a...
You've touched farmers' protest,
yes,
which is quite sensitive, but we'll come to that later. As far as UCC is concerned, I don't understand why it's a core issue to begin with. And my only explanation is that a political party saw benefit in turning it into a core issue when it actually is not really a core issue because it doesn't affect
That's
the Hindu
again,
community one way or another.
if I ask you to honestly answer yourself and throw yourself back to 2014, did you think like this?
No, that's exactly my
Yes,
point. So
right.
in 2014, I thought it was a core issue
Exactly.
because that was a discourse by
Precisely.
the political party.
That's
But
what
then
I'm
when you
coming
start
to.
yeah.
So Nupur in 2014 is here. Nupur in 2024 is here. There is absolutely no reason to believe that even
rest of the
10%
people,
or forget rest of, even 5% of the people have been on the same trajectory.
absolutely,
Right.
yes.
Because your life experience and their life experience are completely different. I mean, I ran a company well enough. You didn't have to lose any salary even during COVID, right? So
On the
I
flip
mean,
side, I didn't get even one day off in COVID. I should
right.
acknowledge that.
So I mean, but you have to give it to the government that they actually managed this crisis very well. But they were obviously, people lost their near and dear ones in the second wave and all that. So whatever. I mean, COVID is just one thing. So from 2014 to 2024, kind of travel of yours, I am not too sure. A psephologist, he might go and do some data crunching. I really cannot put even 1% that maybe people will have, even 1% of the people might have got the same trajectory of feeling about experiences that you have. People are really kind of busy with their own mundane life and their own mundane challenges, which are really big challenges. So they might have been just a little bit over there. You have really gone to far or straight in that sense.
See, there are
So what
basically, no, I'll tell you what he's trying to say is that he's paying you a lot of money, so you don't have to worry about anything. So you are talking about these
That's
things.
rubbish. He's not paying me that much money firstly.
Right.
And what did you call
He's
me?
indirectly endorsing him as a CEO.
Far what?
No, nothing. For you, you have strayed away or whatever. So this is where I mean, you unless bulk of the people have the same life experience or a similar life experience and their worldview changes, why would a political party tinker with something? So for you, as you yourself honestly admitted that UCC was a core issue for you in 2014.
I wrote one of my first blogs was actually on UCC where I outlined the importance of it before I realized that who are we fighting for exactly.
Exactly, and so you have the rest of the people are still in the same zone or a little bit. I mean, obviously we have to and we have to give it to Modi only that the Overton window has shifted. So I'm not saying that 2014 में you were here and entire populace is still there. वो भी थोड़ा move किए हैं, but the way you have
I don't know
moved,
if we can credit
obviously
the
you have.
government for the shift in Overton.
No, we have to, absolutely.
See, I can tell you for sure, one thing I give the credit to this government for sure, and Prime Minister Modi, is that for the first time in this country, and this is what I said.
What he said, sorry, I mean, मैं तुम्हारी ही बड़ाई कर रहा हूँ. What he said कि लोग कह रहे थे कि अभी हम जय श्री राम बोल सकते हैं और हम झेप नहीं सकते, हमें वो नहीं लगेगा कि हम क्या बोल रहे हैं. Why it happened? It happened because of the political scenario changed, ना? Will राहुल गांधी और सोनिया गांधी एवर गो टू अयोध्या?
कोई मीडिया चैनल किसी भी तारीख में अगर ये सरकार नहीं होती तो कोई संतों को जिस तरीके की इज्जत दी जा रही है, एक समय पे जाके हिंदू हेट, ये हिंदू भगवा आतंकवाद सब लोग मीडिया के अंदर भी चलाते थे, क्योंकि उस वक्त गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द डे उस तरीके की थी. ये पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम चेंज हुआ है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी इज कम विद मेजोरिटी, और इसी के कारण जो है एटलीस्ट संतों की, मतलब जो भगवा की इज्जत है, राइट, दैट्स हैज हैपेंड. इट्स अ ह्यूज थिंग, आई एम टेलिंग यू ऑन द ग्राउंड. बट एक मैं इसमें कहूंगा, I give this government a huge credit that for the first time in post-independent India, and this I'm telling you with data, not my journalistical biases and all, that the country has moved away from Muslim veto in elections on a larger level to a Mahila veto. So in this country,
except in Bengal,
because they crossed the demographic threshold of 30%. If they
And
cross
Bengal
it,
will come to.
I'll come.
And Muslim
That is
vote
where
will
I
come
add
to.
my thing that in this country is only democratic, constitutional, secular, because it is a Hindu majority country.
so you were saying there is now a women veto.
Women veto in this country. You cannot win an election without this. So Rahul does not matter. I do not matter significantly. It's Nupur who matters.
Always. We should always assume that Nupur matters and Rahul doesn't.
No, this is a very, very big change.
But it's very interesting that you say that the Muslim veto, in other than certain pockets where they
Electorally,
crossed the threshold,
it is dwindling at a faster pace than you can imagine.
Then, why would BJP start this entire Pasmanda outreach program that they've started? Why would they start with the whole ek haath mein Quran, ek haath mein laptop, computer rubbish? Why would they start, talking about not finding a shivling in every masjid? Even though that statement has sort of been clarified, but still the perception was that the BJP government in power is kind of reaching out to the Muslim vote. Now, you're the Psephologist. I believe, from what I know, that there is a certain section, a very small section of the Muslim community that has traditionally voted BJP, but beyond that, there has not been any significant shift in the Muslim community to voting BJP. And, since there has not been a significant shift despite this entire outreach, what is the point of this outreach is what I'm trying to understand.
What was the point of, say, a Mayawati having a Satish Mishra as her
Are you
second?
saying that this is like a token outreach?
No, not a token outreach. It did, I mean, and that actually helped BSP, right?
In fact,
otherwise,
BSP,
if you think about Ambedkarite system, it's all about hating the Brahmins as such. And yet, Mayawati did that Brahmin outreach and it actually worked for
In fact, the BSP used to come in power not because of the Dalit vote, it was the Brahmin vote. When the SC vote, which was a base vote, which added on the Brahmin vote, that is when the BSP came into power.
I mean, again, we are talking completely pure politics.
Right. I will answer your Muslim question after he answers.
I will
answer.
I wanted you because I am incapable of talking pure politics. So I need you as my counter to talk pure politics.
See, I will tell you on the Muslim vote, this is how I look at it. And this, देखिए, अगर वो किसी भी मुसलमान को आउटरीच कर रहे हैं, उसका वो ये मतलब नहीं कह रहे कि यार वो हिंदू इश्यूज को छोड़ रहे हैं, राइट? दैट इज नंबर वन. नंबर टू, थॉट प्रोसेस मेरे हिसाब से ये है कि एक मुसलमान समाज के अंदर अगर एक वर्ग जो है वही उनके रेडिकल्स के खिलाफ बोलना शुरू कर दें, so automatically that is where the quote unquote solutions will come from, because
pipe dream,
this is, I'm telling you the thought process. I'm not saying कि भाई ये है नहीं है, मैं मान रहा हूँ कि that is the thought process of it. कि भाई मान लो पशमंदा है, अगर पशमंदा मान लीजिए बेसिक, अगर उसमें ही कुछ X परसेंटेज जाके इस्लामिक रेडिकल्स के खिलाफ बोलने लग गए, that is a separate issue altogether. आज की तारीख में उसका इलेक्टोरल इम्पैक्ट नहीं हुआ है.
How are we assuming that the Pasmandas are not extremists? If we say that 97% of
but
the Muslim population
that is not
Pasmanda.
even the what do you call that, a Russian dictator or whatever. I'm bad at क्या बोलते हैं उसको, अंडरलाइंग प्रिंसिपल,
हाँ.
some Latin or French, I don't
Rational.
बड़ा लैटिन फ्रेंच ये सब पढ़ने लग रहे हो.
Rational.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so the underlying principle behind Pasmanda outrage is not really to assume that they are not extremist. That's something you are saying. Yeah, I mean, to be very politically incorrect, it's to divide Muslim votes. You know, that some, just like Hindu votes have been divided on the caste,
Yes.
the Muslim votes should also be divided on caste. So, you know, I mean, obviously nobody officially is going to say it. And maybe I'm not from BJP, so I'm not someone
You can't have a
who
large
can
community to always be quote unquote extremist, right? See, I'll tell you what, if people in this country become radical, let's say certain people in the certain radicals go on the street with, say, suicide bomb and all of it and whatever they want to do, it will ultimately threaten the national security of this country, right? That is something which it will threaten the progress of this country. So if, say, by outreaching on the constitutional framework without compromising on your core issues, I don't see any harm in it. That is what I can say.
No,
for
harm,
example.
somewhere I can agree with her, is that when you do all these outreaches,
It's not appeasement, no?
no,
Appeasement is
appeasement to
when
मैं बोला भी नहीं.
हाँ.
I mean, like when you start talking about castes among Muslims,
Correct.
which is a reality,
Which is a reality.
social reality.
True.
But you cannot borrow the same leftist framework to say कि ये तो ब्राह्मणिज्म का,
that I agree.
you know, like,
The
तो
approach
फिर आप
can
जो
change.
आपका जो ultimate villain that you are making is
yourself.
Brahmanism, which is actually completely antithetical to, if
The
you
Brahmin Baniya party
no
image.
the if you remember, there was one word, subaltern Hindutva.
Yes.
Right.
ये जो
And
चालू करा था,
it was very popular, and it was credited
हाँ.
for BJP's rise, especially in UP and Bihar. Now, subaltern Hindutva, what exactly is that? I mean, in very crude and very politically incorrect manner, instead of, Mandal politics was all about making some upper caste the villain. Subaltern
And-
Hindutva is basically uniting the caste, and the villain is no longer the upper caste, but the Islamists. But when if you push the Pasmanda politics and inherit that ideology, which actually paints Brahmanism as the ultimate evil, then you are damaging the subaltern Hindutva that you
There
have.
was a BJP statement, I forget which leader made it, but there was a statement that came from the BJP that the Pasmandas are oppressed because all of them or most of them were originally.
Yeah, so that's where
Dalits.
I can agree that they should think through that, what narrative they build around it. But the outreach in itself, it's a political move. It's
But will it benefit them politically as
यार
well?
देखो, आज मैं कह रहा हूँ कि से फॉर एग्जांपल किसी को भी आप आज आउटरीच करना शुरू करो, जरूरी नहीं कि उसके बेनिफिट आज ही मिले. अगर आप मान लो 5 साल बाद उसका बेनिफिट मिले, अगर आप आउटरीच नहीं कर रहे हो तो आप एक लार्ज सेक्शन को एक दूसरे वोटर ग्रुप के हाथों में दे रहे हो जो उसको कंप्लीटली रेडिकलिज्म की तरफ ले जाएगा.
On a serious note, when you assume that the outreach is to stop themselves from radicalization or to do all those reformist things, that's your assumption. It's purely political outreach, and it's also, if you don't do any outreach, then you are helping in Muslim consolidation, because that
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
कि उसको आप फिर एक दूसरे वोटिंग ब्लॉक में छोड़ रहे हो ना. और
ऐसे
सेकंड
नहीं
नहीं,
होने वाला
आप नहीं
ऐसे भी
समझो.
जरूरी
that is
नहीं है.
something which will hurt the eventual Hindu cause, because if more, I'll tell you, if more peak polarization of the Muslim vote starts taking place, the ability of the Muslim vote to consolidate is much more than the Hindu vote to consolidate. That is the basic.
जब आपके दो बच्चे होते हैं और एक बच्चा बहुत उत्पाती होता है, बहुत उत्पात मचाता है, सबको मारता है, पीटता है, बदतमीज होता है, तो आप उसको हमेशा प्यार से बात नहीं करते. आप ये नहीं होप करते कि प्यार से बात कर करके वो ठीक हो जाएगा, क्योंकि आप उसको जितना प्यार से बात करोगे और जितना उसके उत्पात को इंडल्ज करोगे, वो और ज्यादा उत्पाती होगा, because he thinks it's ratifying his behavior.
So you want a mama daddy government?
Sorry?
So-
I want the Yogi model. I think the
No,
Yogi...
on this.
One second. When you have an intolerant minority that believes in street veto, you need a leader who has the danda to ensure that they know that their street veto is not going to work.
So it
It's
doesn't.
as simple as that. And the
but-
danda has not worked.
But
so
that
far.
outreach is happening in UP also.
हाँ,
right?
I want to come on this.
कहाँ
एक
पे
सेकेंड. अब यूपी में भी अगर आप मुसलमानों से बात करो यूपी के अंदर और वो बोलेंगे कि यार योगी सरकार के अंदर स्टेट लेवल के अल्टीमेटली लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इज ए स्टेट सब्जेक्ट। तो हमको अब समझना पड़ेगा कि आप बात करो कि यार डंडा मान लो होना चाहिए जो उत्पाती मतलब जो गैर कानूनी काम करे, यही आपके लिए जो सड़क पे बैठ जाए गैर कानूनी रूप से स्ट्रीट वीटो का इस्तेमाल करे, तो मतलब वो आ गया स्टेट का इशू, राइट। उसमें अल्टीमेटली कोई सेंट्रल से जब तक यूटी नहीं है तो सेंटर जाके मतलब अगर आप आर्टिकल 356 नहीं इंपोज करो तो सेंट्रल का उसमें कोई कोड इंटर नहीं होता है। तो आप बात करो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट पे, तो अब स्टेट लेवल पे आप कह रहे हो कि भाई जो उत्पाती है, जो इलीगल गैर कानूनी काम करता है, उसको कानून के हिसाब से दंड दो। दैट इज व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, होना चाहिए 100%। पर जो गैर कानूनी काम नहीं कर रहा उससे आप सिर्फ भेदभाव नहीं कर सकते। दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग यूपी। सो इन यूपी में अगर आप मुसलमानों से बात करोगे ना, मैं आपको कहता हूँ 15 मुसलमानों से बात करो, बोलो कि भाई योगी के आने के तुम्हारा क्या नुकसान हुआ, उसमें से 15 में से 13 आपको बोलेंगे भाई हमारा कोई नुकसान नहीं हुआ।
और ये 90% भय का रिजल्ट है।
हाँ, कि अगर तुम पहले क्या होता था, स्ट्रीट वीटो होता था। पहले होता था कि भाई क्योंकि माइनॉरिटी वोट कंसोलिडेशन, देखो कम्युनल पॉलिटिक्स इस देश में शुरू कब से हुई, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। कम्युनल पॉलिटिक्स इस देश में शुरू हुई जब से कांग्रेस और बाकी के पार्टियों ने बोला कि हम मुसलमान वोट को एकजुट करेंगे और हिंदू वोट को डिवाइड करेंगे। द बर्थ ऑफ कम्युनल पॉलिटिक्स इज नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ हिंदू कंसोलिडेशन, हिंदू पोलराइजेशन। दिस इज बीन अगेन अ वेरी fraud leftist myth. The birth of communal politics started when Muslim votes started to consolidate, and this is what the leftist thinkers said. So तब से communal politics की birth हुई। अब हम क्या कह रहे हैं भाई कि भले तुम मुसलमान हो, अगर तुमने गैर कानूनी काम किया तो तुमको उस तरीके से गैर कानूनी कार्रवाई होगी। That's exactly what a Yogi model is at state level. I am for it. That is what I am personally saying. तो
बट यही है ना
पर
कि एक जो उत्पाती बच्चा होता है, जो यूपी में उत्पाती बच्चे थे, वो चुप करके क्यों बैठे हैं कि अगर हम उत्पात मचाएंगे तो पापा आके 2 चांटा मारेंगे।
कानून करेक्ट।
राइट,
अब वो
डर है।
कर्नाटका में तो नहीं
वो
डरेगा,
आउटरीच नहीं है,
पर नहीं,
वो
पर क्या
प्रेम
यो
नहीं
नहीं,
है,
पर
वो
साथ में
एक
नहीं,
हाथ में किताब, एक हाथ में
नहीं
लैपटॉप,
नहीं,
बिजी।
साथ में योगी की हर स्कीम, अगर आप स्टेट
राइट।
लेवल पे भी देखोगे योगी की हर स्कीम जो है, ऐसा नहीं कि मुसलमान है उसको स्कीम नहीं
हाँ,
मिल
तो
रही है,
बच्चा
तो
को
वो भी
खाना वाना तो खिलाएंगे,
आउट
भूखा थोड़ी
नहीं
मारेंगे।
सर। ऐसा नहीं कि मान लो योगी सरकार जो है वो जाके माइनॉरिटी मतलब
राइट।
एरियाज के अंदर कैंपेनिंग चीज नहीं हो रही, वो भी चीज है जब असेंबली में। तो मेरा कहने का मतलब है आउटरीच, भले वो योगी मॉडल हो कोई भी मॉडल, सब मैंने जो देखा है वो कर रहे हैं।
I would rather say you haven't gone to any such outreach program. You first go. I mean, there are a lot of assumptions कि वहाँ क्या चल रहे होंगे। एक दो जैसे हमने न्यूज़ रिपोर्ट्स पढ़ी, and where even I would say कि don't import the same framework as the left has done, that the caste in Islam is due to Brahmanism and all that. Stay away from that. You know, एक दो न्यूज़ रिपोर्ट्स में ऐसा था which you are also referring, so that I can say that is wrong. But what else happens in that outreach program, we don't know. We haven't sent any reporter or anything else, right? So unless we know that what is happening over there, who knows that, you know, I mean, in all probability it's the BJP कार्यकर्ता saying कि ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, minority benefits में आपको ये मिल रहा है, वो भी मिल रहा है. You know, this is being talked about. So that assumption that it negates the fear is an assumption. You know, there is no proof of it. I think, you know, even if it's happening, what I'm sure it's happening in UP as well, there is no reason to believe that why a minority outreach program will not happen in UP. They would also say कि हाँ आप स्टेट गवर्नमेंट या योगी गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम से आपको ये बेनिफिट हो रहा है, वो बेनिफिट हो रहा है, बट इट डजंट निगेट द fact that
They are scared.
not scared, I mean that the law is supreme.
That is
law
the
and
message
order.
which has gone. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, this is what I just want to add. See, in the era of appeasement politics, law of the land was not supreme. So Congress used to practice कि भाई अगर आप minority हो तो आपके खिलाफ आपको special treatment मिलेगा. Right now, whosoever you are, you will get equal treatment. That is exactly equality by law, right?
No, there are, I mean, on social media, obviously, there are a lot of
यार
वो सब है कि जो बेनिफिशियरीज हैं आपके वेलफेयर स्कीम्स के, दे आर डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली मुस्लिम्स के 36%
या फिर वो आप
46%
हाँ
हैं.
तो अब वो आप क्राइटेरिया क्वेश्चन कर सकते हो, पर मैं
नहीं, मैं तो वो भी कह रहा हूँ, वो भी हमारे पास
criteria के वजह
नहीं,
से
वो भी
वो
हमारे
भी-
पास इनफ डेटा नहीं है ना.
हाँ
See, also, even if that's
One
true,
minute, let
that's
me-
true because of the masjids and the madrasas, because they actually teach and train their people
Right.
on how to
Avail the benefit.
extract benefit from these
Secondly,
schemes, which
most
Hindus don't.
of these welfare schemes obviously would be targeted at the poor.
Yeah.
True.
So among the poor, what is the percentage of Muslims?
And maybe
And
that
then
is
it's a disproportionate.
and
So
that is the biggest, symbol of the failure of the Congress government, right? You spoke about the Muslim vote for 70 years, and despite that, if the social economic upliftment could not take place, that speaks that it was only used as a tool, right? So what I'm trying to say is that fear of the law is बहुत बड़ा मतलब मैं आप मतलब जो एटलीस्ट मैंने इस वक्त है कि उसको पता है कि यार इस सरकार के अंदर मैं हुड़दम नहीं मचा सकता हूँ भले कोई भी चीज है.
आपने मेरे को बोला था that I've become a little rogue.
I say you were
Extreme.
strayed.
Strayed.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why there is a perception that I have quote unquote strayed
That's a
or
perception.
become rogue. नहीं ऐसा मत बोलो यार. मेरी image की धज्जियां उड़ा रहे हो.
राहुल के हिसाब से.
If you say that I have not strayed and I have not become rogue, तो वो मेरी इज्जत की धज्जियां उड़ा रहे
मैं
हैं.
कह रहा हूँ है perception
है
that you have
ना?
become rogue.
हाँ, thank God है
हाँ.
because I have. Now, I think my journey जैसा 2014 से राहुल ने बोला that it has transformed quite a bit. One inflection point in my journey was West Bengal and what happened during the post-poll violence. So I think West Bengal proved as an inflection point where I went from being an unquestioning supporter of the government to somebody who believed and who started to realize, along with a lot of other people, that there are areas which are lacking and there are areas where we need to question and there are areas where we need to wonder what the hell is happening. And Bengal was that point for me also because it affected me very dearly and personally. Now, we also spoke about how there are policies जो हम जब तक mass movement नहीं होता है उसके support में तो वो implementation के stage में नहीं पहुंचता है. So when we are talking about Bengal, let's start with CAA. CAA's implementation has been stalled for a very, very long time. And every time this comes up, like, नहीं नहीं summer session में करेंगे, winter session में करेंगे, नहीं नहीं अब करेंगे, तब करेंगे, तो होके ही रहेगा, लेकिन करेंगे, लेकिन कब करेंगे, देखते हैं, that way. In Bengal, they ended up losing a substantial chunk of votes of the Matwa community because CAA was not implemented. So, what do you think was the impact of non-implementation of CAA in the loss of Matwa community votes in Bengal?
See, in 2019, the Matuas voted the BJP significantly.
Yeah.
Right now, also the sentiment in Matua is largely pro-BJP as of in run up to 2024. I'm not going seat-wise. Bengal for me was a test case example of what I say that when the demographic imbalance in the
Right.
country takes place, this is where all your quote-unquote progressive issues, developmental issues, all those issues take a back step. And it is only a vote based on religious line. In Bengal, the 35% Muslim vote voted 99% with TMC, and it consolidated significantly, which resulted in Mamata Banerjee's victory. It is along with that, the women vote in the Bengali women vote also voted her.
The Hindu community also
Yes,
voted
the Bengali Hindu
overwhelmingly.
community voted her significantly. So whether the Matua vote had the Matua votes shifted a bit to the BJP and the BJP would have come to power, my answer is no. Why it is not being implemented, the reason that was given was because COVID was going on and post-COVID they will do. Now, I don't know the technicalities of it. But in Bengal per se is a test case which I keep on saying that the demographic imbalance in this country should not happen. Because I will give you another data point that there are 15 constituencies where the Muslim vote is in majority. In those places, you cannot, if you look in the past 35-40 years, nobody has won raising a Hindu cause or its only vote happened on religious line. In Jharkhand also, and places where tribal districts were prominent, the Muslim vote was 15% in 2000-2002, and the Hindu vote and the tribal vote was 35%. Now the Muslim vote has jumped to 25 to 28%. So the answer to your question is, according to, if you ask me, if I put it very simply, it was the Muslim veto which led Mamata Banerjee to win, along with the Hindu Bengali vote shifting towards Mamata. This is precisely what happened. And the leader not being there from the BJP side, which could not translate, the anti-incumbency sentiment. Because in 2019, the BJP won 18 seats, which is a solid sentiment. And 2021 was much bigger with that. Along with that, 4 districts in Bengal, the voting percentage was 5% less than the average voting percent. And all those districts where the Muslim vote was dominated, like South 24 Pargana, Dinajpur and all. So I would rather say that the answer for that may not be CA. The answer to that would be that it was a Muslim veto which resulted in, along with the Hindu vote going towards Mamata.
So from Muslim veto, then we come to the post-poll violence.
Yes, that was an anti-Hindu violence.
That was an
Pure
anti-Hindu
anti-Hindu violence. That is my complete opinion. That is my opinion, because those Hindus in Bengal who had the courage, see, the politics of Bengal happens on bal.
Yeah.
It is not. It is a politics which happens कि जो जिसमें दम है, जिसमें शक्ति है, उसके साथ होता है. मतलब the psyche is that. पहाड़ों के अंदर यही होता है. बंगाल में the perception is just not important like other places. वहाँ आपको polling booth के ऊपर. This is why these leftists want non-EVM elections, because paper ballot वो लेके घूम के कर सकते हैं. So it was my understanding, and having been there for 3 months at that time, and having spoken to post-poll violence, got them on my victims on the show, it was pure anti-Hindu violence. Along with that, it was also teaching them a lesson. Why did you vote the BJP? This is the two things combined together.
So I would want to understand, because while obviously Nupur also is of the same opinion that it was purely anti-Hindu violence, how did it suddenly, because Bengal has a long history of violence, political violence.
Correct.
As a Bihari, sometimes I feel that why was I ever ashamed of violence in my own state? We are far more civilized politically in that sense than Bengal, with all due respect and apology to the Bengalis. So it has a long history of political violence. I mean, all the Sandberry Kand and all that, which, you can't imagine. Those gory details of making a woman, mother eat the blood-soaked rice.
Kerala has a history of political violence.
Yeah, they have. So yeah, obviously there is a communist influence and all that. But let's leave that aside. The fact is that it's like the party becomes people's entire life. So and they start killing each other for party. So suddenly the political party becomes their identity. So it's mostly, a political violence that has been happening since God knows when. How did it suddenly, that political violence become communal violence, as both of you are saying, post 2021? Yeah, right.
In 2021.
In 2021.
So my understanding to that is, if you see TMC and left, they predominantly...
Because, sorry, the reason why I'm asking that, you yourself are saying that Mamata also got decent amount of Hindu votes.
Correct.
In fact, I think majority of Hindu votes in a way went to Mamata as well. And obviously all
Bengali
of the
Hindu votes.
Bengali Hindu votes, and all of the Muslim votes, you believe, almost all definitely went to them. So how did it suddenly then become a Hindu versus Muslim thing?
So my understanding to that is this, that if you look in the history, political violence in Bengal was a norm, right? Mamata also has suffered significantly at the hands of the leftist and the left regime in Bengal. But whether it was CPM or TMC, none of these outlets really thought that the Bengal polity will also become about the Hindu aspiration significantly, which is there. Post the 2021 election, there was not 2024. There was complete clarity on the ground that the entire Muslim vote is consolidating with TMC, and the BJP was raising all legitimate Hindu issues on the ground in those areas where the Muslims were 30%, 35%, 40%, which was there. So it was the sentiment which was there that whatever vote the BJP is getting is only the Hindu vote. Yeah. So it was a message given to the Hindus who voted the BJP that dare you even have the courage to do that again. So in the past, in the polity of Bengal, it was not a scenario where the left or the TMC spoke about Hindu issues per se. But in the run-up to 2021, Nupur can add to it or correct me if I'm wrong, the BJP was the only party which was speaking about appeasement happening in Bengal in terms of your entire imagery of Mamata, look at it. So the TMC was getting entire Muslim bloc vote. Along with that, it was also getting the Hindu Bengali vote because of the welfare schemes. But the BJP it became the number 2 party. From getting 2 seats, it rose up to 77. And I believe that any election is always a 10-year journey. It is never a 5-year journey. It is because first social transformation takes place, then you get the base vote, and then you have the change. It is not a 2-minute thing कि 5 साल में सरकार बन जाए, बहुत कम केस होता है. So Mamata never thought कि यार उसको इतना बड़ा opponent मिल सकता है. So it was a message which was given to the Hindus per se. And see, areas where the violence took place, those areas, if you look at it, they had significant Muslim dominated areas which were there where the violence took place. So for the first time, there was a party which was raising the Hindu causes legitimately, and there were significant Hindus which voted that party. So those Hindus were taught a lessons clearly which is there. So it was a mixture of Hindu plus daring a Hindu daring to vote the BJP. That is what if you see violence in Birbhum, it was not for example religious in nature. That is where Anubrato Mandal had historically come, and it is uska main Bahubali us area ka. Now he's in jail, right? But if you see in the Parganas, South 24 Parganas, near Calcutta, all these areas have significant Muslim population. Malda Dakshin, Malda Uttar, Murshidabad, all these areas are 70% Muslims.
These are mini Pakistans.
These are areas where only, that's what I'm saying. If somebody should do a real academic study, which has not happened in this country, which I also want to do, and because I've also done, because I have stayed in Malda for 5 days, and I have gone to areas where which were 50-50 Hindu Muslim, have turned to 90 Muslim and 10 Hindus, and the Hindus have gone away from those padas. There is the largest mosque in Asia is the Adina Mosque. If you go, I have been in that also. You will see, if you go there, you will see inscriptions of our Hindu idols. If you go there, it's a closed mosque, nobody can go. We somehow did the local jugaad to see, but there also my reporters and people saw here Hindu inscriptions are there, but nobody can dare to raise. So what I'm saying is, Nupur, there should be a study which should happen in this country. All the constitutional values, freedom of speech, equality, progressive development, are those followed in places where the Muslim community is 80% and the community is 20%? This is not happened. And if that is not followed, you have all the answers to your questions. So I will say that it is two things. A, Hindu plus Hindu daring to vote BJP. So Mamata thinking at teaching a lesson, and that is where the post-poll violence completely took place.
In Bengal, while growing up, I've been born and brought up in Bengal. You could not really see skull caps. You could not really differentiate between a Hindu Bengali and a Muslim Bengali when I was growing up. And that significantly changed post 2018-19.
Not even Lungi versus Dhoti.
It was genuinely a consolidated crowd where you could not, मतलब वो बोलते ना कपड़े से धर्म को पहचानो, वो नहीं होता था बंगाल में उतना.
True.
Now, if you remember, when did the first violence of CAA start? Anti-CAA violence. It was nowhere else. It was not in Delhi. It was not in UP. The first incident of violence was sparked in Bengal.
Yes.
And illegal migration is a massive issue. So when I say that you started looking, you started seeing lungis and you started seeing skull caps and you started seeing the bade bhai ka kurta and chote bhai ka pajama, that is post illegal immigration influx of the Bangladeshis and the Rohingyas. And when BJP started talking about expelling illegals, somehow there was a bigger consolidation of the Muslim community in Bengal. So traditionally, Urdu-speaking Muslims who live in Bengal are actually looked down upon by the Bengali-speaking Muslims. There is a stark difference there. So that is why OAC also could not really make a massive inroad into Bengal, even in areas like Metia Bruce, because Urdu-speaking Muslims are looked down upon. वो बोलते कि बाहर के Muslims.
Biharis, I think they.
Can I add to that one?
Yeah.
See, Muslim vote generally is a very strategic vote. It always, as of right now, votes the party which can defeat the BJP.
Yeah.
So OAC per se is only an old Hyderabad-based phenomena. I think we over-calculate his political relevance. If you look at the elections which he's won, most of the elections he's hardly been able to, because Muslim vote as bloc is strategic. So in Bengal, they knew the TMC was defeating, so whether it is Furfura Sharif or anybody else.
But that is what I'm saying. So पहले क्या था कि initial perception था कि फुरफुरा शरीफ और OAC में there would be slight bit of a Muslim competitiveness, because one was catering to the Bengali speaking Muslim and the other was catering to the Urdu speaking Muslim. But the expulsion of illegal migrants from Bangladesh and Rohingya, Myanmar, etc., that the fencing of the Bangladesh border, the trying to stop the illegal cow smuggling which happens even with the help of certain elements in the CRPC, it's an open secret in Bengal borders. All of that plus the slight resurgence of Hindu identity in the rest of the country where there was Jai Shri Ram. We remember how Mamata
Yes.
Banerjee was getting completely, I'm sorry, but psychotic when she
Yes.
would hear Jai Shri Ram. It was almost like a Hindu exorcism which was happening. कि वो हिंदू वो बोल दिया और उनके अंदर आग लग गई. तो the resurgence of Hindu identity, nationally, and the issues that BJP was making noise about nationally, not just in Bengal, including the expulsion of illegals, consolidated the Muslims, where they were genuinely scared कि अगर BJP inroad बना देती है हमारा क्या होगा, because
Correct.
a lot of them are illegals.
Yes.
Now when that consolidation happened on that basis of that fear and Mamata Banerjee won, they were unleashed कि अब तो ये हमारा
सबक सिखाओ.
इलाका है, अब हम इनको दिखाएंगे कि हम क्या हैं. And therefore the political violence which was become between two political parties historically in Bengal, Sainbari का जैसे आपने बोला, it was between the communists. The Sainbari family
Yes.
was Congress. It turned completely anti-Hindu, almost as a expression of anger against the Hindu identity resurgence, the conversation about expulsion of migrants, the CAA, जितना भी गुस्सा था वो सारा कल्मिनेट होके हिंदूज के ऊपर निकला है. जैसे एंटी CAA वायलेंस वाज एक्चुअली एंटी बाबरी डेमोलिशन वायलेंस. CAA तो बहाना था, राइट? इसमें भी वो बहाना बना. The one case that I covered, I'm sure you remember, she came on camera, her face was covered, but she came on camera and said कि मुसलमान आए थे, बोले हमें हिंदू लड़कियां चाहिए. और ये एक स्टोरी नहीं है, प्रदीप will
Yes.
bear testament. ऐसे हजारों स्टोरीज थे जो शायद कभी बाहर नहीं निकलेंगे because the victims won't come on
In
record,
fact-
because FIR नहीं हो रहे थे.
In fact, Calcutta High Court in its state judgment acknowledged it, that it was not the law of the land, it was the law of the ruler.
Yeah.
That was the exact line of the
In
Calcutta High
fact,
Court.
Mamata Banerjee is celebrating the Khela Hobe Divas on the anniversary of the Direct Action Day.
Correct.
And saying हमें जिहाद करना है, or whatever her statement was, एक और FIR नहीं चाहिए मेरे को, I can look it up, but something to the tune of kafirs and jihad. It is hearkening to the Muslim community, saying that I am standing behind you, and these people can't, I won't let these people come into the state and expel you, because it is really the Muslim consolidation that has happened to a large extent because of the illegal migration. मैं जब passport renew कराने गई थी, when I was living in Calcutta, I swear I thought I had come to Bangladesh or Pakistan. Skull caps everywhere, burqas everywhere. Growing up, I don't remember seeing these black tents in Calcutta as much, except certain pockets like maybe Metia Bruise, जैसे मैंने बोला, या वो अनवर अली शाह रोड, वो जो अंदर अंदर के पॉकेट्स हैं जहाँ पे गेटोइजेशन है. मेटिया ब्रूज इज, जितने मुसलमान क्रिमिनल्स होंगे वो जाके मेटिया ब्रूज में रहेंगे. वहाँ यू सी दिस काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. Generally in Calcutta, you never saw this. You saw it in outskirts, Malda, etc. This violence happened in proper Calcutta, where I was staying. It was a Hindu majority, posh area. 600 मीटर दूर अभिषेक सरकार was lynched.
Yes.
To death.
His उसका मतलब भाई and mother came on my show and she cried like hell.
So this was a very dangerous turn. I mean, given that
True.
Bengal is a place that has seen the Marijapi massacre, it's seen
But you know what?
Sainbari, even on top of all that massacre and violence, this was one of the most dangerous turns.
Also, what I feel is, yeah, this is something which I feel very, I can say, sad, that Bengal has always been the land of the Shakti. Right? Historically, the maximum Shakti Peeth, if I'm not wrong, has been in Bengal. But आप वहाँ पे जाके देखोगे उनकी state of management has hardly been done properly. So it is
Which
such.
is why we need to free temples from government control.
Again, there are Rahul will enlighten it better.
I had to add that. I had to slip that in.
Which is there, but Rahul will add that. Because there are two opinions on it also. कि कई जगह मतलब इसमें he will add better because I have not done detail. But कई जगह ऐसा भी है कि जहाँ प्राइवेट ट्रस्टों के पास भी हर जगह सरकार के पास नहीं, if I'm wrong, right?
Right.
तो वहाँ पे भी बहुत कमीशन, करप्शन और ये सब चीजें हो जाती, मतलब का इंस्टेंसेस आए हैं. So we need, you are much better
अगर
at
कोई
that.
मर्डर करता है तो हम चाकू थोड़ी बैन कर देते हैं.
So that is and you will enlighten better.
Yeah.
Rahul will
Yeah, but at the
enlighten. Sai
same
will
time,
enlighten
there
better.
is no solution also. When you're
Ah.
The
talking about
solution is,
mismanagement,
when you're talking about mismanagement, assuming that a secular, godless, soulless government is going to take care of a place of worship far better than its devotees is a faithless argument to begin with.
technically, yes, but
It's as simple as that. If you have to, there is a possibility of corruption with the Hindu devotees.
See, again, the
taking care of
principle,
temple.
again, now, whether that happens or not, ultimately, it has to be, who will decide that, right? So, constitutionally, I completely agree with you. If Places of Worship Act is applied only on the Hindu community, and if you, read Places of Worship Act with Waqf, you will see that was only it is the Hindus which have it has
Places
been
of
applied
worship
on.
तो वो अलग हो गया.
हाँ.
This is temple control.
हाँ, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ कि टेम्पल कंट्रोल की बात नहीं, मैं दूसरा ला रहा हूँ. अगर आप पढ़ोगे वक्फ को पढ़ोगे इन रिलेशन विद प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट, तो आप कहोगे कि यार इधर तो पूरी सबसे थर्ड लैंड, सबसे ज्यादा रेलवेज के बाद में और आर्मी के बाद में सबसे ज्यादा जमीन तीसरे में वक्फ के पास में है. और इधर जो आपने प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट के अंदर कोई भी सिविलाइजेशनल चीज को चैलेंज करने से रोक लगा दी. दैट इज वन पार्ट वेयर आई फील देयर इज कंप्लीटली डिस्पैरिटी, एंड इवन इफ यू टेस्ट इट ऑन द मेरिट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल टेनेट्स, I don't think it will stand. On the temple part, Rahul will enlighten better. But what I have seen on the ground is there are different opinions. मान लो जो devotees है कई जगह वो कहते हैं कि यार हमको सरकार चीज है वो ढंग से चीज को रख रही है. कोई जगह पे कहीं पे कहते हैं कि यार ट्रस्ट सही तरीके से रख रहा है. तो ये कैसे डिसाइड होगा, ये कौन डिसाइड करेगा, अगर ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल नॉन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैटर नहीं है कि डिवोटीज को ही करना चाहिए. हाँ, so the community should decide.
Sampradaya, not the community, the sampradaya. So
The
every temple will have a sampradaya which
it's not necessary.
So let's say
not
what you
necessarily,
let's say.
but the ones that do have a sampradaya, there the sampradaya has to.
So just I'm understanding this from a point of view being more educative on this. Let's say the temple is there at a local place, at some place, right? And there are devotees which go to that particular temple. And so how will you decide whether that temple should be given to a trust or should be with the government?
Let the devotees decide what happens to the temple, because
All the devotees.
So if the
devotees.
See, one, I'm
This is something I'm just understanding.
This is a 2-hour discussion on that
Correct.
itself. But
So we should do some.
We will.
Yes.
And I'll have Ashish here. So coming back to, since you said the temple management would then be a 2-hour long podcast in itself. Coming back to Bengal, that was my inflection point where I started questioning a lot of things which I had taken for granted before as far as the government was concerned. The blind support slightly shifted along with a lot of people. Do you think, since you've also reported from the ground in Bengal, do you think the central government could have done more when Hindus were being massacred in Bengal and when their own karyakartas were being massacred and their houses were being burned down? Do you think the central government could have done more? And jitna gussa humne dekha as far as Bengal was concerned, do you think it somewhere shifted? Do you think my journey was replicated in a lot of people on the ground, where complete blind trust से थोड़ा इस तरफ आके you started wondering if these are questions that should be asked?
So on the former, I think the government has taken a principled stand that they will not impose Article 356. And if you see that Indira Gandhi imposed it 50 times, Nehru imposed it for more than 10, if I'm not wrong. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has imposed it the least. So it's a principled stand that this government has taken. That is what.
has he imposed at all?
No, there only not precedent rule dismissing a state government at all. There was once that Jammu and Kashmir was declared as UT, and once in Delhi when the government was not able to, the Aam Aadmi Party government resigned midway, and for some time there was the LG rule. But he himself has not dismissed a single government. So that's a decision which the government has taken. So that is the former. On the latter part, I feel, Nupur, that पोस्ट पोल वायलेंस के बाद में गुस्सा सिग्निफिकेंटली था बीजेपी पर से के खिलाफ कि यार और कर सकते थे क्या, पर अब जो है वो थोड़ा ठंडा होते हुए दिख रहा है जमीन पे. So your questions were completely legitimate, and those were similarly the questions of many at that time. So I believe that they thought of going through the मान लो through this whole legal route, that the matter was sub judice. They went to the NHRC, filed it in the Calcutta High Court, then Calcutta High Court ordered a CBI. So if you look at it per se that this government has always taken in any scenario similar legal route only. Could the party have done it more? Probably yes. But at this moment, is there solid anger because of that against the BJP per se? Probably not.
So, Rahul, he's saying that it's a principled stand that precedence rule is not going to be imposed. Now, one argument can be that there is no greater principle than saving the honor of a woman, given that so many women were mercilessly raped and 80,000 people fled from Bengal and they were living in refugee camps in Assam. Do you think that they sacrifice the primary principle of protecting the lives of citizens for political expediency, one, and two, the contention that they've always taken the legal route? We've seen that, whether it's a farmers' protest or a couple of more instances, they have given into street veto. They have listened to these groups that came out on the streets that created violence, that threatened violence. Why did that not happen in Bengal when the violence was happening? Either of you can answer.
The latter
In the
question
sense,
is actually
not going through,
counterintuitive,
no,
right?
not going through the completely legal route, but taking a decision to do something.
No, if you accuse them of surrendering to violence,
Yeah.
then actually that's the same thing that happened to Bengal in your own term. So there is no contradiction as such.
Contradiction there. So then answer the first question.
But,
second question, I couldn't frame it properly. I
uh,
meant that he said that they took a principled decision to go through the legal route. Now, if that principle was paramount in the case of the farmers' protest or in the case of any of these other policies that they've, recently on that hit and run law, they would have waited for the court to adjudicate whether the farmers' law should be, how it should be dealt with. But they didn't. They gave in to the
but what
public
is
demand.
as central government, the only executive decision that they could have taken is obviously the dismissal of state government.
They could have
But
also,
I think the worst violence happened even before she took oath, right? So there was no government to dismiss as such also. I'm not, kind of saying that that was a legal way reason why they couldn't do it. But I think from an outsider, perhaps that's what people in Delhi also thought. Like I thought, ये तो बंगाल में होता ही रहता है. What's new there? अगर हो सकता है बीजेपी जीतती तो टीएमसी वाले मारे जाते. So like people have become numb to the entire thing. Perhaps it didn't dawn upon them that it was so bad. And as he's saying that and both of you are saying that it was actually a communal violence, whereas most of the people thought it was unfortunately the routine political violence that you simply see the cycle repeating after every election. And as many people said that perhaps if BJP would have won, there was no guarantee that there would have been no violence. I mean that's how people, the sociologists and all that they said. So that is the benefit of doubt one could give. Obviously whether they could have done more and all that, there is always a affirmative answer to this question almost in every situation. And it's not just about the government, about anyone actually, whether we could have run OpIndia better. So obviously, so whether something could have been done better, there is answer would always be invariably be yes. Why they couldn't do? I think two things. One, as I'm telling, as I'm assuming that perhaps they didn't realize that it was exactly that kind of nature. And you guys also are saying that in some parts actually it was not communal. The mandal or what?
हर जगह
That some
अनुव्रत मंडल.
that thing that you said. So one could be that. Secondly, perhaps it could have they thought that it would actually make the situation even more deteriorate the situation.
But correct me if I'm wrong, when the violence started, the model code of conduct was still in
See,
place.
on the technique, that those are the
And the central forces, their presence in the state could have been extended if we didn't want to take it as far as to impose precedence rule.
See, I think imposing precedent rule was a distant option for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that made
And particularly
sense
after a leader has won with more than 2/3 majority, It is a very distant possibility. Imagine a hypothetical situation in a president rule would have been imposed. It is always bound to be challenged in the Supreme Court. What if in a scenario that the Supreme Court struck it down? So those further increases larger complications. So I personally, if you ask me, that at that time in this imposition of president rule was a distant reality. Could more central forces be
because the
sent in
model code
others?
of conduct
That
was
is a
changed.
definitely a point, which is a point of deliberation, which could have been a possibility, is what people say.
So I don't really recall things. So
Correct, because if you go
were
back to the
forces
facts of it, because I
actually,
also don't remember the exact facts of it कि कितने central forces थे, क्या नहीं भेजे
हाँ,
गए
क्या
थे.
क्या उनको वापस बुला लिया गया? I mean,
हाँ,
we'll
because
have to
वापस
check
नहीं
it.
बुलाया गया था क्योंकि the
I
governor
don't
at
think.
that time, Jagdeep Dhankar, was really, also speaking about post-poll violence, and he had the command
Right.
at his authority
That's why
also
he is hated so
significantly.
much,
And
and
he's the only governor who travelled from one
Yeah.
constituency to the other, speaking about post-poll violence when
He
the
even
Bengali
went to
media
Assam.
tried to blacklist it.
He even went to Assam
Yes.
refugee camps
Yes.
and spoke
Yes.
to the victims.
Correct.
So the Bengal issue, there was significant anger against the BJP. You acknowledged that on the ground level also people
For post-poll violence.
post-poll violence
Yeah.
के बाद में. Another issue was the Nupur Sharma incident, where there was, I think, far more anger amongst the people as compared to Bengal violence, because it was.
which people again?
I'm talking about him talking
Because
to
one
ground level people.
I still remember one sea voters report was there that they went and asked normal people. I mean,
Do they ask people?
I'm not getting into your professional rivalry.
No rivalry at all. They're great
But I
friends.
don't believe sea voter.
Yeah, so they said that, like
absolutely
70% or an overwhelming number of people actually agreed that the government did the right thing by suspending Nupur Sharma. Yeah.
So now you will answer on the Nupur part. My point is that Nupur today is safe,
yeah,
because of
she's,
this government.
I have a slightly different view, but
We can differ on it. We don't need to
we
agree.
go into
We are not
it.
leftists that we have
someone
to
is
agree with each
safe,
other
then
always.
obviously someone is safe, then obviously the state has to be credited.
Look, she's safe because of the government, because she's been given security, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? But the perception of the party coming out and expelling her after there was pressure from jihadis across the world.
No, pressure from Qatar and all.
Jihadis across the world.
But even Afghanistan is a.
Of course, but that's what I'm saying. These are rabid elements
which
that
you have to
put in
live with.
pressures. Agreed. But the public perception of throwing a woman to the wolves.
That's what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
If you remember one article that you wrote.
Sorry, it legitimizes that offense.
It has been legitimized पता नहीं कब से.
Correct. But हमने दोबारा से कर दिया.
हाँ, that I agree. लेकिन if you remember the article that you yourself had written, and obviously somewhere I must have some role to play in that. So one of your article was that why it's wrong to say that, what was the need of Nupur Sharma to say so, right? Abhi, tomorrow, if say someone living in this building says the same thing as a response to some Islamist saying something offensive, and he puts a response to that offensive comment, and the person is living in this building, and 15 Islamists starts shouting over there, how many of you think in this locality will stand with that boy? They will say कि यार करने की क्या ज़रूरत थी? हाँ, ignore करते वो करने की क्या ज़रूरत थी? So that again comes to, I mean, I do, and it was not like only when pressure built to some level, they went on and expelled her and all that. But yeah, I'm talking, when we are talking of whether it was right or wrong, we kind of know the answer. Your question was whether it's significant anger on that, which I disagree. Unfortunately, I will have to disagree, because this is how we are. The kind of example that I gave you, that everyone will say क्या जरूरत थी इसको Instagram पे ये लिखने की.
Finally, जब अभी the Sufi controversy happened, which a lot of people were trying to blow up as far as I was concerned, there were certain people, again, clarification, not from the BJP or anything, but generally, that हटा दो ना,
Yeah.
सूफी का पार्टी हटा दो, पूरा सूफी का पार्ट हटा दो, क्या जरूरत है बोलने की, क्या जरूरत है, अभी कुछ और बात कर लो। आई सेड, कल आपने बोला कि एक तरह की टिप्पणी इज ब्लास्फेमी, आज बोल रहे हैं आप एक तरह की टिप्पणी इज ब्लास्फेमी, कल आप बोलेंगे कि औरंगजेब और टीपू सुल्तान के खिलाफ बोलना भी ब्लास्फेमी है। सो वेयर डज दिस स्टॉप?
So people are with Nupur.
Which the Hindu community
No,
very seldom
people
does.
are with Nupur.
Oh,
There is no doubt about that. People are with Nupur. There is no question about that.
And the belief is that, I mean, she is safe because of the government.
Yes, this much is also for sure there. Now, on whether it's an issue of the electoral issue or that issue, that's something I don't have any data set. But what I can definitely tell you is that A, people are with her. B, that people acknowledge that she's safe because of the government.
And 3, both about Bengal, Nupur Sharma, as well as say the COVID deaths. Bad days are bygone now. Let's look forward to the future.
That is always our societies.
Yeah, that's. But do you get as a sense as a psephologist that this is there?
People are feeling that this country is moving forward, and they want to march on this journey forward. That is something which is there.
That you felt?
The data suggests that. It's not about my feeling. Like if I go, say for example, I'll give you a simple anecdote. When I was in Bangalore, right? So when the T2 terminal, the new terminal building started, I had people who were traveling with me. I asked them, how do you think about great countries moving forward? I could not imagine such a great airport. I then went to Tripura in 2023. I got a direct flight. There were people earlier. There was no direct flight from Delhi to Agartala. Now there are direct flight on a daily basis from Delhi to Agartala. Earlier it was via Guwahati. So people who traveled along with me, Tripura said, "Yeah, ये तो बहुत सही चीज करके कर दिया." I was traveling on the Hubli highway from Hubli to Karnataka to Bangalore. It was an 6 to 8 lane highway, 400 kilometers, no stretch, all happy. Then I was in Jhabua in Madhya Pradesh. The lady got some 70 years में, the lady got घर, and she said, ये देखो आसपास मैं कांग्रेस की वोटर हुआ करती थी, कांग्रेस ने मुझे कुछ नहीं दिया, ये देखो इसने मुझे दे दिया. So this is what I'm seeing on the
But
ground.
developmentally, I think there is no question that this government has excelled.
And this is what people right now think.
I
somehow feel
on that question.
You can
which is where not many people have the same life experience.
Nupur, you can, but on the ground, a common person will give them 9 out of 10 on civilization, particularly after.
Yeah, because that's
huge
what
it is. Look, I am telling you, I have met women on wheelchair from Jhajjar and Rohtak, 75 years of age, moving on the Bhakti Path, which is 500 meters, with some random stranger guiding them. And IIT, a student from IIT Chennai who has just come there with the family, she asked for help and the student said, okay, fine, I'll help him. And she said, boss, imagine nahi kar pai, main ki kar diya, Modi ne kar diya.
And the civilizational issues that you are talking about, the pop, in fact, they are still not popular, first of all. And
they're not popular yet.
And the articulation about them has
not
started only recently. So there is absolutely no way you can assume that they can really resonate with the common जनता.
So one small point. See, now we are living in a BJP era. Earlier it was a Congress system. Now it is a BJP system. So now these issues, right? So let's say the BJP comes back again in 2024. So there will be a large chunk of the Indian population, significant chunk, which had not seen the earlier UPA era per se, right? So for them, whether it is the core ideological people or a floating voter, they will now start judging the government based on the performance of the government. And then certain people like you on the ideological front will start asking for those ideological issues. This is how it is there. So I say that if from Nehru it was a Congress system, from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, now it's a BJP system. So it is naturally there when after 15th year you will see these issues, you will start asking, what hona chahiye, दूसरा hona chahiye, hona chahiye.
Now, but 2 questions to wrap this up. One, आपने बोला था 2014 was aspirational.
Hope. 19 delivery.
So what is that one word for 2024?
What? Like hope?
2014 was about hope.
Right.
2019 was about delivery. So what is 2024
Continuity.
about? Continuity of.
No, it's faith, I believe. That would be, I think the word would be faith.
For me, it is continuity. Continuity in everything. Continuity in civilization renaissance, continuity in development, continuity in ensuring that, global prestige moves forward, continuity in Modi. That is the thing.
What I meant by faith was 2014 obviously was aspirational and hope. 19 on delivery, yeah, and obviously that Pulwama factor was there, some emotion were involved. And when I say faith, obviously it's a faith that things are running smooth and we don't need a change,
Correct.
as well as the faith of Ram Temple.
That is huge.
Yeah.
I mark save this that Narendra Modi in 2024 will get more vote share this thing than 2019 and 14 for sure. Seat share, I will tell you when I predict the
And
numbers.
Ram Mandir has a huge, significant
Huge.
role to play.
Huge, and it is age agnostic, geography agnostic, language agnostic.
So my last question is that, as I said, Ayodhya, Kashi, and Mathura. Ayodhya to ho hi gaya hai. Ram Lalla has returned. The king has
Huge.
returned to Ayodhya.
Yeah, you wrote an article also with that headline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kashi and Mathura are in the judicial system. And Vishnu Shankar Jain ji and Hari Shankar Jain ji, they are fighting really hard. And hopefully that will be delivered as well back to the Hindus. My question is that now that these three main issues that were simmering for decades and generations is coming to fruition, do you think Hindus need another cause to which transcends caste, which transcends age, language, financial status, barrier, gender, all of it? Because right now, after the Ram temple, I don't think there is a cause like that which sort of brings the entire Hindu Samaj together like Ram Mandir did.
That for a society to come together, for something mysterious to bind a society together, you don't always need a very obvious slogan and all that, just like it happened in 2014. So it doesn't mean that after Ram Mandir, there is no issue. You really don't know what is binding millions of people together, and when maybe a future slogan might emerge. Just like in 2014, I mean, a Congress Mukt Bharat is not a Hindu slogan, yet it was actually, it galvanized a lot of castes and it was a Hindu vote. So you never know. I would not really see it as, post Ram Mandir, there is nothing for Hindu society to galvanize around. That's not true. You never know. One is there would be something mysterious, and what new slogan, what new issues emerge, something out of that. Stargazing is difficult, but it won't dissipate.
So I will agree to Rahul completely, and I'll say कि अभी जो है हिंदू अभी तो लोग आनंद लेंगे जो हो रहा है
Right.
बहुत समय तक आनंद लेंगे 1 लाख से 3 लाख एवरेज विजिटर्स एक्सपेक्टेड है यू आर आल्सो गोइंग ऑन द 22nd राइट सो अभी तो ये आनंद का भाव रहेगा उसके बाद में मेरा जो मैं अभी देख रहा हूँ लोगों में ना एक चस्का है कि यार और डेवलपमेंट हो और रिच बने सोसाइटी वी टेक ऑन द ग्लोबल हम एक स्ट्रॉन्ग नेशन बने ये एक बहुत अंदर ना मतलब एक एस्पिरेशनल क्वेश्चन बहुत सॉलिडली हाई है तो आप एक कांग्रेस की पॉलिटिक्स में क्या थी ना गरीबी का चस्का देख के गरीब रखा जाता था नरेंद्र मोदी हैज गिवन पीपल एस्पिरेशन एंड विकास का चस्का दैट इज व्हाई यू आर सेइंग ना यार एक्सपेक्टेशंस तो मेरी और है तो एक विकास का चस्का हो चुका है तो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच आई बिलीव विल कंटिन्यू अभी से लेके 27 तक तो यही रहेगा मेक इन इंडिया द थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी और अभी जब 24 के अंदर राम मंदिर हो रहा है कि दिसंबर 2024 तक और उसका भव्य होगा सो एटलीस्ट आप 2 साल तक तो मानो कि इसका ही आनंद लिया जाएगा पूरी तरीके से और इसी के बाद में फिर आप कौन सा समाज में मुद्दा बन जाए हमें किसी को पता नहीं है कौन सा नैरेटिव कब हो जाए हम दैट इज द ब्यूटी इन दिस एज in which we are living in.
Let me ask the last question actually, and that's unlike
Genuinely the last
what
question.
yeah, and no trollish question. That no अच्छा अगर दिमाग में आएगा तो वो supplementary ask कर लूँगा. But do you at all think, do you at all sense or analyze any risk of India shining repeating? That because you are confident कि हम तो आने ही वाले हैं वही
मैं बताऊं अब ये लोग इसमें इंडिया शाइनिंग वाले को थोड़ा लोग डिटेल में सही नहीं एनालाइज करते इंडिया शाइनिंग क्यों हुआ था उसके पहले अगर आपको याद होगा यूपी के अंदर बीजेपी लॉस्ट पावर इफ यू रिकॉल द बीजेपी डम्प्ड मायावती एट दैट टाइम एंड वेंट विद मुलायम and BJP did not perform solidly in Uttar Pradesh. That was the trailer to India shining. Number one. Number two, the rural development direct benefits did not reach people at that level the way they are doing right now. Number three is your core card. If you remember at that time, Sudarshan ji was there, if I'm not wrong. right? And he was not allowed to enter UP, or there was some issue which took place, just recall, where there was a lot of cadre demotivation which took place. At this moment, more than 1,000 schemes, direct benefits are reaching the people, more than 1,000 schemes. I was reading a government data which says 100 crore people some or the other way are connected to one or the other direct benefit. So your bottom people are, even if you leave every other issue, are connected with the
No,
voter.
I
People,
kind of
BJP is not fighting this election for Modi. It is people who are fighting. So
no,
please,
the issues
आज
are
की तारीख में
completely
बीजेपी कोई भी
disparate.
हाँ,
When I asked that, the underlying assumption was कि लोग ऐसा तो नहीं है कुछ सपोर्टर्स वोट ही न करने जाएं कि जीत तो रहे हैं यार.
यार देखो आज की तारीख में ये जो चुनाव है ना, ये वेव इलेक्शन की तरफ है. अगर कोई ऐसा मुद्दा होता है जिसके अंदर लोग हर चीज उठा के करें, ऐसा तो नहीं कि भाजपा कैंपेन नहीं कर रही है, 220 सीट 50% ज्यादा वोट से जीती है, वीक सीट्स पे काम हो रहा है, असम, उड़ीसा, बंगाल, तेलंगाना सब में काम हो रहा है, ऐसा तो नहीं कि पार्टी घर पे बैठी है. There's an Amit Shah, 24/7 along with JP Nadda and others, BL Santosh and all working across. So the party is working. So there is no sense of complacency which has come, which is something which is of a Modi Amit Shah thing कि always more and more, get more, higher base. What did Modi say कि जितना मार्जिन था उससे और बढ़ाओ आपकी बीजेपी मीटिंग में. So there is no complacency. Number 2, your ideological cadre में आनंद का भाव है. राम मंदिर के बाद में कोई ऐसी कटाक्ष नहीं है या दुविधा नहीं है या दुख नहीं है, which is number 2. नंबर 3, साथ में बॉटम ऑफ द पिरामिड के लिए काम हुआ है, that is number 3. और नंबर 4, साथ में एक नरेंद्र मोदी जी भी खुद कैंपेन कर रहे हैं. There is not a single instant that he is not directly connecting to the people. So when you couple all those 4, that's why I say only Narendra Modi can defeat Narendra Modi, nobody else.
And number 5, nobody is motivated enough to go to the polling booth कि मुझे तो राहुल गांधी को ही बनाना है.
कांग्रेस वाले नहीं चाह रहे हैं यार. कांग्रेस
कौन सोचेगा ऐसा?
देखो ये न्याय यात्रा जो है, भारत जोड़ो
आप
यात्रा,
सोच सकते कि लोग मोदी से नाराज हो जाएंगे, बट टू बी मोटिवेटेड,
Actually, that's one question.
ये इनका नाम राहुल है, इनका नाम राहुल है, तो ये थोड़ा भावनात्मक तरीके से बात कर रहे हैं.
moron, मतलब literally there is some
No, so
might be some genuine problem
as somebody from बिहार, मुझे तो समझ ही में नहीं आता कि कांग्रेस को वोट कौन करता है, लेकिन ऑब्वियसली कांग्रेस को वोट तो मिलते हैं. तेलंगाना में जीत गया. अभी कौन है कांग्रेस का वोटर?
देखो तेलंगाना अलग है. तेलंगाना में एक एंटी बीआरएस सेंटिमेंट था. बीजेपी के पास जीएचएमसी इलेक्शंस के बाद में हिस्टोरिक अपॉर्चुनिटी थी. दे समहाउ fiddled away in the campaigning. Otherwise, in Telangana,
you think that Bandi Sanjay
वो है multiple other factors है उसमें करके, बट मैं बॉटम कह रहा हूँ कि एंटी बीआरएस सेंटिमेंट को बीजेपी कैपिटलाइज कर सकती थी, कांग्रेस ने कैपिटलाइज करा. अब लोकसभा में आप माफ करना, बीजेपी को अच्छी सीटें मिलेंगी, क्योंकि जो कांग्रेस को वोट कर रहा था या बीआरएस को कर रहा था, बोल रहा है मोदी को हम देखना चाहते हैं. तो बीजेपी पिछली बार 4 सीट लेके आई थी तेलंगाना में, इस बार 4 से ज्यादा सीट लेके आएगी तेलंगाना के अंदर फॉर श्योर. सो वो अलग केस है. कांग्रेस को कौन वोट कर रहा है? वही वोट कर रहा है जो हमेशा से करता रहा है. कांग्रेस को कोई नया वोटर नहीं मिल रहा है. दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड कि
कौन वोट करता है?
जो कांग्रेस ही हमेशा से रहा है.
जैसे मतलब आई एम जेन्युइनली आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, क्योंकि बिहार में तो कांग्रेस बची ही नहीं. और
देखो 11 करोड़ 10 से 11
कौन करता है?
देखो 10 से 11 करोड़ के लगभग बीच में वोटर है.
ऑब्वियसली इतने लोग कर रहे हैं तो वोट तो कर ही रहे हैं.
माइनॉरिटी हटा दो, माइनस कर दो, तो मेजॉरिटी, तो पूरा 90% माइनॉरिटी वोट आप ले लो.
अच्छा.
उसके अलावा जिनके दादा परदादा सब,
मुस्लिम वोट कितना है?
90% प्लस.
90%.
मुस्लिम वोट विल वोट एंटी बीजेपी.
करेक्ट, बट हाउ मच ऑफ इट गोज टू कांग्रेस?
देखो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, कांग्रेस इज दी मतलब कहते हैं ना घर वापसी फॉर द मुस्लिम वोट ऑलवेज.
आप अगर बोल रहे हो कि कांग्रेस का ट्रेडिशनल वोट बैंक 10 करोड़ है, तो आप
10 11.5. अब देखो 15 करोड़
10 करोड़ है, तो उसमें से 8 से 9 करोड़
नहीं, ये मैं नहीं कह रहा. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जो भी मुस्लिम वोट का जितना भी वोट डाले, 90% वो कांग्रेस को डालेगा. देखो कोई दूसरी पार्टी को मुस्लिम वोट तभी डालता है जब उसको लगता है कांग्रेस वीक हो रही है. और अभी जैसे कह रहे हैं कि ट्रिपल ये मान लो महिला वोट कर रही है. अभी मैंने बुर्के वाली महिलाओं में सैंपल नहीं किया है, विच इज जनरली सिंग, और वो डिफिकल्ट भी है करना. तो इसलिए मैं स्टोरीज के बेसिस पे इसको कंक्लूड नहीं कर सकता. एक परसेप्शन हो सकता है, बट डेटा मेरे पास इतना नहीं है कि मैं कहूं कि यार 60% मुस्लिम वुमेन हैव शिफ्टेड अवे फ्रॉम द कांग्रेस. दैट आई डोंट हैव डेटा which is there. अगर मुझे आप थोड़ा दे दो जो लोग माइनॉरिटीज के अंदर सैंपल कर दें, तो मैं उसको बता दूंगा.
नहीं पड़ता.
हाँ, तो
ये यूसीसी से फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ट्रिपल तलाक से फर्क
तो ये इसमें मैं कंक्लूड नहीं कर सकता. पर वो वाली चीज भी कांग्रेस को वोट वही डाल रहा है जो हमेशा से कांग्रेस को वोट
मतलब अभी भी बची है.
हाँ, तभी देखो बीजेपी, कांग्रेस इज अ पार्टी. अगर कोई एंटी बीजेपी सेंटिमेंट होगा, वो जनरली किसी की तरफ पहले सिकुड़ के जाएगा, वो कांग्रेस जाएगा. इसीलिए कांग्रेस को सबसे ज्यादा डर है आम आदमी पार्टी से, ना कि बीजेपी को, क्योंकि आम आदमी पार्टी जो है वो उन्हीं बेसिस में जा रही है जहां कांग्रेस वीक हो रही है। सो आम आदमी पार्टी का मेन दुश्मन बीजेपी नहीं, उसका मेन दुश्मन कांग्रेस है। तभी तो अमित शाह ने बोला खड़गे जी आपको जो है मुझसे करने के बजाय आपके और आम आदमी पार्टी का होना चाहिए, बिकॉज इट्स द वोट विच शिफ्ट्स and AAP has always destroyed this particular base vote, whether it is Delhi or in Punjab. सो कांग्रेस को वही डालता रहता है जो हमेशा से कांग्रेस को डाला, क्योंकि उसका 70 साल से एक वोट है। एंड दिस इज वेयर अगर भी कभी भी एंटी बीजेपी सेंटिमेंट होगा वो गैल्वेनाइज इसी की तरफ निकलेगा। और इसी होप में राहुल गांधी जो है वो अभी 50 प्लस के हैं एंड ही इज थिंकिंग कि मैं अगर 10-15 साल भी संघर्ष कर लूं तो कभी ना कभी तो मुझे चीज होगा।
संघर्ष? What Sangharsh though? He's in Dubai. He was in Dubai. He keeps going to Bangkok. He's like a part-time politician.
Actually, they don't have consistency in their messaging. They don't have consistency in their messaging. Or
okay, last question before we wrap up. Yeah. Is Rahul Gandhi more handsome or you and fit? Who is?
Rahul Roushan is the most handsome person.
वो तो है. Between Rahul Gandhi and you, who do you think?
I think it's a matter of insult if you're comparing.
Yes, I agree.
I will tell you why. मैं सिंपल, और इसमें मैं कुछ पर्सनल
इसमें भी
हाँ मेरा लॉजिक है यार। देखो इस देश का जमीनी जो व्यक्ति है ना, कॉमन अपनी विच यू सेड, वो हर दिन मेहनत करता है, संघर्ष करता है, 2 वक्त की रोटी कमाने के लिए जी जान लगाता है। आप किसी मजदूर से मिल लो, किसी मिडिल क्लास से मिल लो, किसी से भी मिल लो। आपने भी अपनी मेहनत से ऑप इंडिया खड़ा किया, राइट? मैंने भी अपनी मेहनत से जन की बात खड़ा किया, किसी भी अपनी मेहनत से करा है। ऐसा तो नहीं कि हमारे दादाओं ने किसी ने जाके संपत्ति उठा के दे दी थी, राइट? सो राहुल गांधी गॉट फॉर 60 ईयर्स सब कुछ अपने हाथ में। नरेंद्र मोदी से फॉर एग्जांपल 0 से उठ के 40 साल संघर्ष करके घर घर घूम करके अपनी बलबूते पे करा है। तो हर वो कॉमन आदमी इस देश का जो है ना, जो अपने बलबूते पे कुछ करता है, उसी आदमी के साथ रिलेट कर सकता है जो अपने संघर्ष से कुछ मेहनत से पहुंचा है। विद द गांधी फैमिली द बिगेस्ट इशू विच आई हैव इज कि उनको लगता है वो एक फीफडम ऑफ किंग, मतलब एक फीफडम है हमारा, किंगडम है हमारा, ये राजशाही हमारी चल रही है। ये इशू हर व्यक्ति कांग्रेस में खराब नहीं है, पर जो इस राजशाही चालू करी इनने कि यार हम जो सोचेंगे वही चीज करके होगा। अरे तुम चीज क्या, प्रियंका गांधी वाड्रा ने जिंदगी में क्या किया अगर मैं राजनीति हटा दूं? तो मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रहा हूँ अपने वो नोज दैट राहुल विल लुक एट, सो दैट इज नंबर, सो लीव दैट। बट जेन्युइनली आई एम आस्किंग, दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच आई रियली गेट राइल्ड अप। आप एक चुनाव अगर कोई नेता आज की तारीख में हार जाए, ठीक है, एक चुनाव अगर नरेंद्र मोदी हार जाए, कोई भी फर्स्ट टाइम पॉलिटिशियन आ जाए, करियर 10 लोग लिखना चालू हो जाएंगे। आज 50 इलेक्शंस राहुल गांधी जी की लीडरशिप के अंदर कांग्रेस पार्टी हारी है, तब भी ही इज द नेक्स्ट ऑन मेकिंग। एक मैगजीन जो होगी उसको अगर मौका मिलेगा वापस से, इज ही बैक? कितने कम बैक कर चुके हैं राहुल गांधी मैगजीन्स के अंदर, जितना तो दुनिया में कोई नहीं किया होगा। एंड नरेंद्र मोदी एक इलेक्शन हारे, या कोई भी फर्स्ट टाइम पॉलिटिशियन एक इलेक्शन हारे। आज अगर आप एक कुछ गलत करो, कुछ संघर्ष हो जाए, कोई आपके साथ नहीं खड़ा होगा। यू हैव टू फाइट योर ओन कॉज, बिकॉज यू आर, आपका कोई नहीं है कि राजशाही करके नहीं है। यू मस्ट हैव सीन इन द केसेस व्हिच यू हैव बीन देयर, ऑब्वियसली योर जेन्युइन वेल विशर्स विल बी देयर, बट ऐसा कुछ सपोर्ट नहीं है। दिस इज माय इशू। सो इफ एनीबडी हु हैज अर्नड हिज ओन लिविंग, जो खुद प्रोफेशनली सक्सेसफुल है, जो खुद संघर्ष करके अपनी मेहनत से कहीं पहुंचा है, वो नरेंद्र मोदी के साथ में रिलेट करेगा, या ऐसे किसी व्यक्ति के साथ में प्रोफेशनली भी रिलेट करेगा जो अपनी मेहनत से चीज करता है। ये राजशाही जो इशू है ना, दैट इज द बिगेस्ट इशू। आज कांग्रेस में वो इतने सारे लीडर्स हैं जो खुद पे बने हुए हैं, बट व्हाई शुड ही ओनली गेट इट? और कि यार जब मैं चाहूं आऊंगा, जब मैं नहीं चाहूं नहीं करूंगा, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है यार। कितने आई फील पिटी फॉर द कांग्रेस वर्कर्स जिनने अपना पूरा खून पसीना बहा देते हैं, सब कुछ कर देते हैं, और उनको कुछ आके मिलता ही नहीं है। ये मैं कह रहा हूँ, ऑपोजिशन होनी चाहिए, सब कुछ चीज होनी चाहिए। इट्स अबाउट कंसिस्टेंसी मैसेज, इट्स अबाउट सिंसेरिटी यार। व्हाट इज दिस कंट्री विल वांट टू प्रोजेक्ट एज, राइट? What type of leaders this country want to project forward as? You are a self-made entrepreneur, you are a self-made a journalist. We are all self-made people here.
नहीं, वो भी एंटरप्रेन्योर है, उसका
एंटरप्रेन्योरल जर्नलिस्ट चीज है। मैं आपको जर्नलिस्ट पहले बोला ना, आपको जर्नलिस्ट नहीं बोले।
हाँ, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता।
तो फिर दिस इज माय पॉइंट, दिस इज व्हेन आई से कि आई फील इट इज रॉन्ग। ये मैं बस कह रहा हूँ, और ये हर व्यक्ति जो जमीन पे है ना उठा के करके देखता है।
But finally, is he more good looking or are you more good looking?
No, that is you should do a
just pick.
ठीक है, लोग कमेंट्स में डाल देंगे।
let people, but यार मेरे को ऐसा मत करो तो करके मैं हाथ जोड़ना चाह रहा हूँ। ये कोई कंपैरिजन कोई चीज करके नहीं है। राहुल रोशन और राहुल गांधी जी के बीच की सिमिलैरिटी और डिफरेंसेस को आप कमेंट्स में करिए। सबसे अच्छे कमेंट को ऑप इंडिया जो है वो एक गिफ्ट हैम्पर देगा, और उसके बाद में जो सबसे गंदा कमेंट होगा, जो सबसे लेस अच्छा कमेंट होगा, उसको जाके ऑप इंडिया को साथ में डोनेशन ऑफ इंडिया को देना पड़ेगा।
donatefordesh.com
इन क्या यार बताओ यार, ये क्या करके करा था? मुझे इसके पीछे की कहानी जाननी, कैसे बताइए?
क्या कहानी है? उन्होंने कोई प्लान ही नहीं किया, तो फिर मैंने बुक कर लिया, मैं देख रहा था कि ये डोमेन
उससे
अवेलेबल
पैसा
है।
मिला कुछ?
पैसा कैसे अब कोई
donatfordesh.com जो
कांग्रेस वो तो ऑप इंडिया पे चला जाता है ना,
गया ना, मतलब जो कांग्रेस वाला पैसा जा रहा था वो।
इतना कोई बेवकूफ होगा? हाँ, राहुल गांधी ने कोई डोनेट किया होगा तो आया होगा, नहीं तो और तो इतना कोई बेवकूफ नहीं हो सकता कि ऊपर ऑप इंडिया लिखा है, हर जगह ऑप इंडिया लिखा है।
2 महीने में 5 करोड़ या कितने मिले हैं, मतलब उनका खुद का हाल इतना बुरा है कि अब ऑप इंडिया को उनके थ्रू ऑनेस्टली
But generally, I'm asking one question. I will want to be the last question. I want to be the interviewee, and I want to ask you: do you guys fear? And this, let me be as blunt as possible with you. That if the government changes, you guys will be in jail. If the Congress government comes to power,
fear. See,
do you have that thought? I will be very blunt with you. If the Congress government comes to power in center,
2019 results came. I had actually written an article जिसमें मैंने ये लिखा था कि actually such fears are there, you know, I mean not because we have done something wrong, ऊपर से हम तो ज़्यादा ही टैक्स दे रहे हैं हमें लगता है, तो you know हर चीज़ में GST VST सब दे रहे हैं, तो I don't think there is anything because of you know illegality they can fear.
Vindictiveness.
Exactly, जो इतना vindictiveness है वो डर तो ऑब्वियसली रहता है।
लोग समझते नहीं कि विंडिक्टिवनेस उधर मच ज़्यादा है,
कहीं ज़्यादा।
For me, yes, they are vindictive. हो सकता है they'll put us in jail or far worse. There are threats also that happen because I've seen the whole Bengal thing play out. I've seen the whole death threats that happened even recently, so in that 10-day period when the whole Sufi issue happened, और आते ही रहते हैं. So fear is natural. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you careful कि आपके मुंह से क्या निकल रहा है, आप क्या दिख रहे हो. But if you constantly think about the fear, you will not be able to work. So somewhere you develop a barrier. आपको पता है कि it's a possibility. आपको पता है it might become a reality someday. But somewhere you block that part of your brain and say that अभी तो नहीं है ना, अभी day to day we are okay. So we'll see in the future. Because if you start overthinking and if you start letting yourself realize the full potential of what could happen, तो आप काम नहीं कर सकते. It's impossible to get up and
yeah, होने के लिए तो कुछ भी हो सकता है.
I agree with that completely. It's just a lot of people had messaged me to ask you that question, so I thought I'll have the last word.
The fear is there, but then you block the fear out because otherwise you can't.
You experienced this. I also experienced state vindictiveness at a disproportionate level, so that's why.
I personally genuinely believe that those who protect dharma protects them.
Yeah.
When the Bengal thing happened,
if your intent is proper.
मतलब कहाँ से महेश जेठमलानी?
Oh, he is a legend.
Help करने.
Mahesh Jetmalani is the best, one of the best souls that I have come across.
We would not have been able to afford him. Even if I sold my kidney, I would not be able to afford him.
Legendary.
किडनी का इतना पैसा मिलता है?
मैं बोला नहीं afford कर पाएंगे. But he came. He didn't take a penny from us.
Legendary man.
And he's been helping us. Ravi, Sai, there are so many people who just come, to help us when I've been in trouble or when OpIndia is in trouble. So those who protect dharma protects.
100%.
कुछ गलत होता है तो eventually वो 6-8 महीना के बाद लगता है कि maybe it was the right decision.
Yes.
अच्छे के लिए ही हुआ. वो हुआ इसीलिए अब ये हो रहा है. Therefore, in retrospect, it was not such a bad thing. So.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. We leave it to Ram. All right. Thank you so much, Pradeep, for being so candid. And thank you, Rahul, for being the bully that you are.
I didn't bully anyone.
Even during this interview. But thank you so much. It was a great
Thank you. Thanks a lot.